Okay. Let's see here. Vio, Psyches, Muzzy, San, Mia, Ototita. Psyches. I believe that's mind? No, not mind. Soul. Wait. Souls. Plural. Yes. Souls. So, Vyosakis maze samia ototita means, jeez. Vyosakis maze samia ototita. Two souls together as one entity? Wow. How utterly compelling and mysterious. One would think people obsessed with the mythology and the arts would be a bit more creative. How much more of this greeting card spiritualism do I have to translate anyway? If I read one more line, that sounds like something out of the Spark Notes version of Twilight. I'm punching out. Oh. Hello there. Is this a social call, or are you here on business? I figured. Trash can is in its usual spot. Help yourself. Try to sidestep the boxes if you can. You'll see it's mostly full of orange peels, energy bar wrappers, and water bottles tonight. I've been here a while. Yeah, Dr. Tavaleris just got back this morning. It's too bad. I'm sure you were probably enjoying having one less office to clean on your shift. Not vacation per se. She was on an expedition. Scoped out some ruins, searched for some artifacts, met up with some contacts in her field. It's not Miami Beach, but I can think of worse things to do over spring break. According to her itinerary, she was going to Attica. No, not the prison. Attica, the administrative region of Greece that encompassed the metropolitan area of Athens. She came in this afternoon to drop off some books and stuff, hence the clutter. But then she went home to get reacquainted with her cats and sleep off her jet lag. Well, she had emailed and assigned me a few odd jobs upon her return. Translating some miscellaneous inscriptions, proofreading her notes, verifying the historical accuracy of some of her findings. I wouldn't normally work late on a Friday, and certainly not during break. But from what I've heard, Dr. Tavaleris may just have a potential museum showcase on the horizon. You better believe I'm going to claim some of that recognition too. You call it being a shameless parasite. I call it being a fiendishly ambitious research assistant. Incidentally, did you know the word parasite is derived from the Greek parasitos? It literally means one who eats at the table of another. Wow. I have been doing this job way too long. Still, it's better than vacuuming floors, emptying trash cans, and cleaning bathrooms all night. Oh, come on. I did not mean that offensively. In fact, credit where credit is due. These last 6 months, I don't think I've ever seen this building so clean. My allergies and slight misophobia are deeply grateful for your keen eyes, elbow grease, and possible OCD tendencies. I'm not looking down on what you do after hours outside of class. It's just what you do after hours outside of class is not something my family would ever approve of. Are you kidding me? My father, the high-profile attorney, and my mother, the vice president of academic and student affairs at this very university, would never allow their precious, sweet little overachiever to contaminate her resume with any occupation that involved manual labor, and did not guarantee a slew of networking opportunities upon graduation. Aside from the colors of our collars, we're not all that different. Although, to be fair, I actually look like a dual art history archaeology major. I can't say I'm getting communication studies from you. Exactly. We are just two graduate students working towards our respective degrees with part-time jobs on the side. Oh, yeah, and creative projects in your case. How's your novel coming along? Really? You finished it? Wow. What happens now? Oh, okay. An agent. Makes sense. How many queries have you sent out? And how many have responded? Oh, Well, don't lose hope. There's bound to be someone out there who will appreciate a sci-fi epic that's... How did you describe it? Like if J.R. Tolkien and Michael Crichton were roommates? Just gotta keep pounding the pavement, as it were. Keep me posted, though. I'm curious to see if it's ever published. Especially since it began as a creative writing assignment almost 6 years ago. Sorry. It's not that I don't find you deeply stimulating. I've just been here since this afternoon, and I'm only about 2/3 finished. And I can't let anything spill over into the weekend. I have a date tomorrow night. Some boring, narcissistic stockbroker whom I met at the fundraising event in December. I forget his name. He's the son of one of my father's old law school buddies, and he's been wanting to fix us up. I think he's enamored with the idea of having a potential son-in-law who works on Wall Street. But it's just dinner. With enough Sauvignon Blanc, he might seem more interesting, and the evening should pass in a daze. Oh my. There I go again. I appreciate the offer, but if I drink coffee this late, it'll screw up my entire sleep schedule. If I'm going to collapse onto my bed and squash a hapless teddy bear come midnight, then I might as well fully immerse myself in the experience. Yes, I'm sure. Thank you, but I'm sure. Alright, trash is emptied and nothing needs to be cleaned. Our business is done and I've got a lot of work ahead of me. You may take your leave. Chivalrous as ever. Huh? Oh no, I just said... I said chivalrous as ever. You know what I mean. Yes, you do. Well, if I had said, yes, I would like some coffee, then you would have brought me some. And since you know I don't like Keurigs on account of K-cups exponentially filling our nation's landfills, you would probably go all the way back to the facilities department to use the traditional coffee machine, because you know I would be able to taste the difference. And you wouldn't just pour me a cup of leftover black sludge either. You would clean out the entire thing and make a fresh pot. Of course you would. Or if I had said, oh God, I would love a venti latte from the cafe up the road, you would probably punch out early and drive up there in the rain and get me one. Then you'd burn rubber back to the campus so that it'd still be hot. And my point is, you don't always have to drop what you're doing and be at the beck and call of everyone else around you. I mean, my God. Back in high school, I left something in our homeroom, at least once a week, but sure enough, within 30 seconds of walking down the hallway to my first class, you'd run up to me, completely out of breath, and hand me my jacket or my book or my bag, or anything else with that dorky smile on your face. I think most days I would just offer a half-hearted, oh thanks, as payment, but it was all you ever seemed to need. Or how about every time I had to borrow a pencil? Or your calculator? I think you knew that in my head thesaurus, borrow was just another word for commandeer. But still, you were all too eager to supply me with exactly what I needed. Maybe I should have mentioned that in my valedictorian speech at commencement. Then again, that would have left marginally less space for me to wax poetic on maintaining a 4.0 GPA whilst balancing the obligations of being class president and head cheerleader. What was your position on the football team again? Quarterback? Running back? Fullback? All right. Mascot. Hey, don't look so embarrassed. You really grew into that Timberwolf costume our senior year. Oh, hey, speaking of our senior year, do you remember my prom date? Well, I Googled him on a whim, and apparently he was the one who caused that really bad accident on the turnpike last year. Yeah. From what I read, he had been drinking and driving with a suspended license. No fatalities. That was a miracle. But with several wrecked cars and a few hospitalized motorists and a down power line, I do foresee some lawsuits coming his way once he gets out of jail. I was disappointed, but I can't say I was really surprised. I remember his antics on prom night. He ditched me about halfway through, and I caught him outside drinking and smoking weed with his idiot friends. I don't know. My mother and his mother worked together at the time, and they thought we'd make a cute couple, so I kind of let them push me into going with them. I guess if I wanted that silk dress, cute shoes, afternoon at the spa, and posh limo ride, I had to earn them. Should have just gone alone, like you did. Hey, thank you again for driving me home that night. And since it's just the two of us here, thank you for enduring my crying. I'm sure that probably felt like the longest car ride of your life. But I was just so humiliated and angry, and I really needed to burn myself out before facing my parents. You know, your chivalry is kind of dorky, but don't lose it, okay? Right. I think that's a long enough stroll down memory lane for tonight. I appreciate the break, but I still have a lot to do. Have a good night. Wish me luck on my date. Sorry about all the clutter. Should be progressively whittled down over the next few weeks. Oh no, this isn't stuff she brought back with her. These boxes are just full of old textbooks and CDs she had brought up from the library archives that I've been working out of. What do you think? She picked up an I Heart Grease Chitin at the airport? No. Dr. Tavaleris is not the kind of woman who's into kitschy roadside souvenirs. Well, actually, yes. She did find something on her expedition. Sure, you can see it. I won't tell if you won't. Besides, it could end up in a display case at the Smithsonian. We both might as well have a closer look while we can. Come on, follow me. So many frickin' boxes. I really did not need to wear my heels tonight. Here, in this box, I think. Okay, so, like I said, Dr. Tavaleris was in Attica this past week. And she didn't just throw a dart at the map of Greece while blindfolded. She chose Attica for a very specific reason. Like many other professors in her field, Dr. Tavaleris theorized that there might be some tangible evidence of the existence of superior beings that the ancient Greeks and or Romans may have construed as gods and goddesses, since they really didn't have much else to work with when trying to rationalize phenomena they didn't understand. A storm decimates a city, blame it on a deity. An epidemic rages, blame it on a deity. An agrarian community produces an unusually bountiful harvest one year, pay tribute to a deity. See the pattern here? Well, apparently, Dr. Tavaleris had read about an altar located just before the entrance of Academia, which itself is just outside of Athens, that had been dedicated to the Greek god Eros. Eros was the original Greek name for the Roman god Cupid. Yes, the Cupid. And what was his gimmick? What was this thing that he did? Right. He would fly around and shoot arrows at people that would make them fall in love. According to the poet Hesiod, Eros was a primordial deity who emerged self-born at the beginning of time to spur procreation, which is just a very pretentious way of saying he fired a bunch of aphrodisiacs into the backsides of people who were presumably of consenting age, got them to mate like rabbits, and prevented the human race from dying out. As such, Eros came to be known as the mischievous little god of love, and it's from his name that the word erotic was derived. Anyway, back to Dr. Tavaleris. She had researched this altar and was curious to see if there's any proof that if thousands of years ago some harebrained alchemists had really created some primitive form of an aphrodisiac so effective that he or she, we don't know, we weren't there, came to be revered as a deity or something like one. She searched every nook and cranny of this altar and didn't find a thing. No Da Vinci-style code, no fragments of an old cult-like manifesto. She even checked for hidden switches or levers that might have opened up some secret hidden passageway. Again, she found nothing unusual. But then, she tried something else. She had brought along her old metal detector that she typically uses for beachcombing in the summer. She turned it on, circled the altar for almost 3 hours, and finally got a hit. She couldn't start digging right away. Technically, she didn't have the proper paperwork or clearance to do that. So, she covertly marked the spot and then came back later under the cover of darkness to excavate. She found this, buried about 2 feet down, and maybe 50 feet away from the altar. Check it out. What do you think? Can't you tell? It's an arrow. Well, it's lost some of its integrity and virtually all of its luster, and being caked with rust wouldn't make identifying it any easier. But yes, this is a very old, very corroded, almost completely unrecognizable arrow. See? Here's the tip. Or at least it was the tip. Both halves are still somewhat curving around and meeting at a point. I'll bet one that is very eroded and dull. And if you follow along the shaft, you'll see that the fletching would have been right about here, just before the knock. Apparently, she has a really good contact in the customs department, so transporting it to the States really wasn't an issue. Ordinarily, she wouldn't have bothered to go through the trouble of keeping it, but she noticed something strange. Traditionally, only arrowheads are made of metal, not the entire thing. Weaponeers would fasten a stone or metal arrowhead to a wooden shaft to make carrying and firing them easier. But Dr. Tavalera said that this looks like it was forged from raw iron, start to finish, as one single uniform object. She's going to have it radiocarbon dated to be sure, but she thinks it was created at some point during the Greek Iron Age, which was after the collapse of the Mycenaean civilization, until the beginning of the Greek Archaic period, sometime between 1100 and 800 BC. And according to what most mythologists have pieced together, Eros first strapped on the quiver and took flight around 700 BC. So, yeah, quite a find, actually. Drachma for your thoughts. Excuse me? Are you... Oh my god. Do you actually mean that sincerely? You think that this is one of his arrows? Like an actual arrow that belonged to the god Eros himself? Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding me. I know you're a science fiction guy, but maybe you should try your hand at writing fantasy. So, what are you suggesting? Some 2,800 years ago or so, Eros was just flying around making quota for the day. He swung by his altar to meet and greet some followers, got caught in a crosswind, and this slipped out of his quiver? Wow. Okay, where to start? Well, first of all, I thought this was implied, but there were never any goddesses or gods. The entire concept of mythology, Greek, Roman, Chinese, Egyptian, or otherwise, is based on exactly that. Myths, legends, made up stories told by primitive people as a way of rationalizing things they couldn't explain, providing some much needed inspiration for their creative arts, or perhaps scaring straight any rebellious teenagers of their nation's youth. Second, this arrow could have been forged by any blacksmith. This was likely the handiwork of a very hardcore fan of Eros who made it as a tribute or something. No different from those geeks who dress up as comic book characters and create homemade replicas of weapons for when they go to those conventions. No offense. And lastly, as I already explained, Eros was the god responsible for making people fall in love. While that conclusively disproves the myth, since love itself doesn't even exist. No, it doesn't. There is no scientific basis for love. Yes, there's attraction, but that's an entirely separate concept. Attraction is the manifestation of sexual impulses and urges brought upon the visual stimuli and touch. It's in the pre-programmed instinct hardwired into our biological blueprints to keep us reproducing so we won't go extinct. It's useful, it's fun, but it's just genetic impulse, nothing more. See that pile of papers on the desk there? They are filled with writings, musings, and poetry from some of the biggest names in ancient Greece. I've spent the last 5 hours deciphering them, and many of them go on and on and on about how love is some wonderful divine state of being that supposedly defines itself, is beyond explanation, and is the most powerful force in the world for good and evil. When you take a cold, hard look at that from a modern-day, 21st century perspective, you realize how utterly quixotic and ridiculous it sounds. Okay, if if I had to define love, then I would say it is probably a pheromone-induced neurosynaptic reaction interpreted by the evolutionary impaired primates as a predominantly heteronormative emotion, to use the proper vernacular. In layman's terms, a combination of sexual attraction and convenience. Why do people get married? The only reason sane, rational human beings get married is to combine their wealth and help each other advance socially. One look at my parents will tell you that. They have openly and unapologetically admitted to not loving each other. They were, and still are, two people with mutual goals that they could only have reached by working together as a wedded partnership. They're loyal, they respect each other, they have a child, they take their marriage seriously, and they have every intention of remaining together, but that's all there is to it. I think you were brought up on a few too many Disney movies back in the day. Contrary to popular belief, swooping in to rescue a damsel in distress and riding off in a pumpkin to live happily ever after is a cliched plot device, cooked up by members of the SAG-AFTRA as a means of selling tickets, books, and streaming services. I'm not mocking your romantic side, I'm just trying to set you straight. Trying to spare you the grim reality of realizing that despite everything we've ever read in the stories or seen in the movies, that supposed great mystical power does not exist. And even if it did, do you really think getting nailed with an arrow would cause something so wonderfully beautiful and ethereal to just poof into existence? Exactly. Time to grow up. Well, I should probably move this somewhere else. Because it's in a plain, nondescript cardboard box within a pile of other plain, nondescript cardboard boxes. Dr. Tavaleros would have my head if someone from faculties took this out of her office and lost it somewhere. Let's see. Oh, her desk. Perfect. It'll fit in one of the bigger drawers on the bottom, and faculties would never go down there. Yeah, that's a much better... Oh! Oh, oh God, how? Oh, the arrow. The arrow. Oh, it just fucking stabs me. My leg. It stabbed me in the leg. Why are you... Oh, okay, yeah. Just sit me down on her sofa. Oh, I was trying to maneuver around the box, and I can't balance in these stupid heels, and I caught my foot on the corner, and Yeah. You're right. Got to stay calm. Yes, I'll keep putting direct pressure on it. Wait. Where are you going? Don't leave me. You keep a first aid kit on that cart? Oh. Well, okay, yeah, I need it. Listen, you're gonna have to take me to the emergency room tonight. Seriously, I felt that thing go at least an inch into my thigh, and it was rusted and dirty. It probably gave me tetanus. Right. Gotta stay calm. After you clean and bandage the wound, can we just get in your car and go? Hey, thank you so much. Now, the arrow stabbed me right here, so I need to hike up my skirt. Please try to keep your eyes in their sockets. Alright, my hand is flat over where it got me. when I take it off, just quickly spray some disinfectant and slap that bandage on. It's gonna hurt like a bitch, but we don't have a choice, okay? On 3. 1, 2, 3. What? Oh. Of course it stabbed me. I felt it stab me. It impaled me right here when I fucking fell on it. I can see there's no blood, and I'm trying to figure this out, okay? The skin isn't even broken. But that doesn't make sense. The point was dull, but look. Here's where it went through my skirt, and here's where it went through my pantyhose, so it should have gone. Actually, no. It doesn't hurt. Not anymore. But that's because I must be in shock. Obviously. Could you check the arrow and see if there's blood on it? Thank you. And for God's sake, please be careful. No blood? You're sure? Well, just put it back in its box, okay? I should have never taken it out in the first place. I guess it didn't stab me. Just poked me really hard. Sure felt like it broke the skin, though. Yeah, good idea. You should probably sterilize the area anyway, just to be on the safe side. Here, my pantyhose are destroyed now, so let me just... There we go. They were my color anyway. So, whenever you're ready. No, the alcohol isn't stinging even a little. Definitely did not break the skin. No, I'm fine. The pain is totally gone, but does it feel hot in here to you? No? Huh. Well, it's probably the adrenaline. Okay, all nice and clean. Thank you. Wow, I still feel kinda hot. Like, I'm actually sweating a little. Yes, of course. Nice, deep breaths. Would you blow on it? On my leg, to get the alcohol to evaporate faster? Yes. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean... well, that felt very nice. Okay, no, I'm really sweating. Alright, you know what? The hell with it. Look, I don't know why, but I'm overheating. I've got to take this blouse off. You're already getting a look at my skirt, so what's the big deal? We're both adults. We've known each other for years. Phew. I'm much better. Only... now my heart is racing a little. Here, give me your hand. Do you feel that? Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make things awkward. I don't know what came over me. Hey, can I ask you something? Do you work out? Well, I'm not fat or anything, but you just picked me up like I was weightless. I felt the muscles tense in your back and your chest, and especially your arms. You are solid as a rock. And it's so cute how modest you are. I think it's great that you stay in shape. And you were really cool just now. I mean, I saw you reach out and grab me when you realized I was about to fall, and when I did, you immediately scooped me up, carried me over here, and checked to see if I needed medical attention. You didn't panic, you didn't hesitate, you just leapt right into action when you saw that I was in trouble. No. I don't believe you just did what anyone else would have done. Not anyone could always be so attuned to the needs of another. I know I tease you, but the truth is, I've always really appreciated you. You have so many admirable qualities. Your kindness, your selflessness, and, no, say it, your chivalry. You always put others you care for before yourself, and always try to make things a little bit better for them. You are exactly what a woman needs in her life. A good, decent, honorable man who will be there for her, protect her, and treat her well. Of course I mean that. I think you're amazing. I think you're wonderful. I love you. I love you. Why did you pull away? Not thinking clearly? I have never thought more clearly in my entire life. I love you. I don't have a single doubt. I love you with all of my heart, body, mind, and spirit. It's alright. This is what I want. You are who I want. Oh, you don't understand. I love you. I've always loved you. I've had feelings for you since we met. Yes, couldn't you tell? All the hints I would drop, the games I would play? You really think I was forgetful enough to leave something behind in our homeroom almost every day? I did that on purpose, you goof. Because you sat right behind me and you were too shy to strike up a conversation. I knew I had to come up with some way to make you. Don't you get it? I was addicted to hearing your footsteps running up to me and the feeling of your hand on my shoulder. If I just had one look at your gorgeous smile and beautiful eyes in the morning, then I would be on cloud 9 for the rest of the day. But some days, one of our classmates would beat you to it, and I just had to settle for borrowing something of yours later so we could have a little interaction. Why do you think I fought so hard to be head cheerleader? Because the head cheerleader had to work with the mascot to choreograph routines for the games. And prom night, I wasn't crying because I'd been ditched and humiliated. I was crying because the guy I should have gone with was sitting right next to me. If you had asked me out, or if I had been brave enough to defy my mother's orders and ask you out, then we could have gone together, and maybe I could have even confessed my feelings while we shared a slow dance. I was crying because my own cowardice cheated me out of a perfect evening. I never said anything because I was too scared. My parents would have never approved of us dating. It wasn't that they didn't like you, they just didn't think you were my type. They just wanted me to have a protective, socially acceptable, completely loveless union. They wanted a guy for me who was wealthy, from a high-powered family, and would have brought them more prestige. But I don't care about any of that. You are exactly the man I want to be with. I love how sweet you are, how responsible you are, how funny you are, how hardworking you are, how smart you are, and how creative you are. You meet every one of my needs. But if my love for you is to remain forever unrequited, so be it. If you do not share my feelings, then I will respect your choice and contentedly resign my heart to accepting a love that is soft and dying and purely agapiaic. So I guess the only question to ask is, do you love me? Years? You've shared my feelings for years. Oh, my darling, my beloved, No, nothing more needs to be said. Good morning. Mm. The sofa isn't the most spacious, but what does it matter when I wake up in your arms? I feel blissfully content. You? Hmm. You know, it just occurred to me that technically we were both right. Well, you insisted that true love does exist, and it sure does. However, I insisted that being struck by an arrow could not cause something so wonderfully beautiful and ethereal just to poof into existence, and it sure couldn't. I understand now. The arrow shot by Eros, aka Cupid, did not truly create love between two people. The love they had for each other was already there. The arrows just brought it to the surface. The arrows gave them the wisdom to recognize their love, the desire to give themselves over to their love, and the courage to pursue their love. Oh, no, I think it's best if Dr. Tavalaris remains convinced that what she found was just a man-made replica and not the genuine article. The ancient Greek deities finished their work eons ago. Let's allow their tools and machinations to retire as well. What happens now? Well, what would you say to a date this evening? Oh, right. The stockbroker. Yeah, I'll be canceling that. My parents are just gonna have to accept that you are the man I want to be with. And if they love me, truly love me, and want me to be happy, then they will learn to love you as well. I'm sure of it. So, tonight? Oh, dinner at a Chinese restaurant? I would love that. What about afterwards? A walk through the park. How romantic. Oh, I know. Why don't we bring along a couple of mason jars and a blanket? We could walk along the path and catch some fireflies, and we could unroll the blanket, sit down, and pop open the jars, and hold hands as we watch them fly off into the sky. And then we can get some ice cream, and you can tell me all about your novel. I've hobnobbed with a few published authors now and then. Maybe I can help you find the right agent. Yes, that sounds wonderful. But right now, I think what I need is some coffee. Let's hit the cafe. My treat. Oh, come on! I was always capable of experiencing love. I just finally took a stab at it.